Welcome back to Guess What Day It Is. Today, it's trailer day. Today we're going to talk about my 2024 Doolittle trailer. So this is something I put together for my business. For those of you that don't know, I'm a Macro Tools distributor. So I basically put this together for a couple reasons. One, to haul toolboxes and to do a toolbox tour. So every 6 months or so, I load this thing up with toolboxes, make crazy deals and all that kind of stuff. I built it to haul cars, and just to have a big trailer that you can use to haul stuff is always good. So 2024 Doolittle, it's a 14,000 pound double axle trailer. I'll take around on the outside too. We can kind of see what it looks like. Yeah, so this channel is about fixing things, but it's also to empower you to maybe take some steps and build some stuff of your own, and maybe this will help you get on that direction. Or if you want to put something together too, you might get some helpful insight with this as well. So let's take a look. So here it is. Apologize for the lighting. It is 22 foot V-nose, 8.5 foot wide. It's got the heavy 14,000 pound setup, dual 7,000 pound axles, big frame. I'm not sure what color it is. It's kind of a gray, kind of a metallic. Can't really see with this light, but it is basically stock on the outside. I didn't really do anything except for add some shore power. This is from a company called NOCO. You might be familiar with their jump boxes, but we'll see more on the electronics on the inside. But there she sits. Let's check out the other side. I did do another modification. There is a exhaust port for a diesel heater. It's basically a bunk heater that I can put in, heat it up in the wintertime. No air conditioning yet. That's probably going to be something that's going to be coming later. So she's a big girl. Kind of wish it was 24 foot. Yeah. So here's the backside ramp door. Nice thick aluminum diamond plate on both the front of the ramp and the transition. Makes it, it's a necessity to get a toolbox up in here. The interior is loaded with E-track, so I can keep the boxes steady. I've got 2x4s with carpeting to kind of cushion the boxes when they're strapped down. You don't want them strapped to the E-channel. You'll scratch it up pretty bad. Coin flooring. This is from Lowe's. It's pretty expensive, but it is very durable. I wish it was black. As you can see, there's some staining from the toolboxes. But I didn't go with black because I thought it would make it too dark. Yeah. Hindsight being 20/20, I would go with black if I had the choice again. So one of the challenges with these types of trailers is the wheel well. So I wanted to be able to strap a box over the wheel wells, especially the heavy ones, just to get the weight over the wheels. So what I ended up doing is making a spacer out of 6x6. Really, it's just sitting on top of the wheelhouse, and then there's just a eyelet hook so that it stays put. I can take them off easily if I'm using it for transporting a car, because make it very difficult to get in and out of the car with those things where they are. So once again, it's just indoor outdoor carpeting, same stuff I used on the 2x4s. I've got aluminum kick plate around the bottom. Thought it was a nice touch, add a little bling to it. So the centerpiece of this is the toolbox and cabinets. So toolbox is a Matco single bay 4S toolbox. It is intact, so the wheels are still on. I could disassemble that and pull that toolbox out, and hopefully it would be perfect. Maybe a couple rubs here and there or something like that, but it is just basically built around. And when we take a peek in the cabinets, we'll take a look at that. Cabinets are from a company called Midwest Trailer. So basically you get the frames and then the center frame so that you can put it around any size toolbox. I think up to 48 inches, if I'm not mistaken. The top basically is a piece of plywood with vinyl flooring on it. So turned out pretty good. Cut in pretty tight, so I don't have any trim on it, but I try to get it as close in as I could. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. The walls are the stock OSB, basically just painted. One thing to keep in mind, if you paint particle board or OSB, you need to have an oil-based paint, because the water base can sometimes either dissolve the glue or just get absorbed into the wood. So keep that in mind. This is plastic trim from Home Depot. It's I'm not sure what it is. It's about a 1/4 of an inch wide, solid plastic. I probably could do a little finish with some caulk over that to hide the staples, but it looks significantly better than it did. And I'll do my best to throw some pictures up as we talk about this as well. So trimmed out the door in the same way. I will probably upgrade the door trim to diamond plate, because you get a lot of dirt. Also, the switch is just a dirt magnet, so that's going to have to go away as well. One thing with the cabinets, they fit pretty close. I probably could also trim out this gap here, but I'm basically leaving it for ventilation for the electronics that are in there. So I think it turned out pretty good as it sits. So as you can see, we've got 110 volt electric up here. That way I can run my laptop and all the stuff I need to do business. Toolbox is set up for just all the stuff that I would need, including dirty rags. But the two match pretty well. I mean, black is black. I mean, really, you can't really go wrong with that. But it looks like they were meant to be together. So turned out pretty good. Pretty happy with that. So the lighting is Amazon Specials. I'm not sure if you can really see the wiring. Pretty basic. Everything's grounded to the frame. So basically there's a hot wire for each of these. It's all tied in, obviously, to the light switch. This trailer basically came with 2 lights of this size, but you have to forgive the airplane in the background there. They turned out great. These things were very inexpensive. and they pull very little power. I think all of the lighting is basically 6 to 8 amps, I think. If, it's been over a year since I put all this together, so I don't remember 100%, but super power efficient, which is great. And then up at the front, I actually just used the 2 lights that came with the trailer. They work pretty well here because they are positionable, so I can kind of aim the light wherever I need it, which works great over the desk area. But it does pretty good in here. I'm not sure how well it's going to turn out in the video, but they fan out pretty well. I probably could stand maybe pulling them together a little bit tighter. Instead of going every 3, I could have gone every 2, but it really spreads out quite well. You can see how it diffuses. Really does pretty well. So I think that turned out pretty good. Up at the top, all the wires are run underneath this board. It's basically a painted trim board. I can have access to whatever I need if I just unscrew each individual screw there and run wires if I have to, drop them down. Eventually the electrical will expand going forward. So see on this side, everything's tucked away pretty nicely, easily accessible if needed, which is great. Okay, let's take a look at the electronics. Try to lay it out as nice and neat as possible. So we start with the show power coming in from that no-co plug that's on the outside that we saw earlier. That splits into a Y, which is great, so I can use this end to power a fan or a heater or something like that without having to run an extension cord. The other side goes into the Power Max converter. So it does 2 things. It takes the 110, brings it down to 12 volts, and it also is a battery maintainer. So very intelligent. It helps keep that battery at its optimum. This is kind of overbuilt. We've got room for relays in the future. Big beefy wires. I try to make everything as future-proof as possible. We've got a nice fuse block that has a lot of capacity as well. So really, I think I only have 2 fuses, one for the lights and one for the heater, which we'll see in a second. So we've got ground lugs on the bottom there. Let's see if I can get a flashlight so y'all can see. So that goes down to the frame. Once again, I try to go a little overkill when it came to the wires on this. That is the relay mechanism for the in-floor winch, which we'll see in a minute. So everything is nice and contained. You can also kind of see how the toolbox is installed. I've got a turnbuckle set up. So there's an eyelet that's screwed into the handle hole with a jam nut to make sure it doesn't unscrew. Very sturdy, and then it's bent to the proper angle for this turnbuckle, and then that goes into the eyelet that's in the E-channel lock there. Also have a 2x4 that goes across the back, so that is what the counter is screwed to, but that 2x4 also stops at the toolbox to keep it from moving side to side as well. Also have kind of a view of the bracing underneath. So that 1x6 sits on top of the toolbox, and then the frame of the cabinet is bolted to that. And then we can also kind of take a look down here, which I think you can see. So we got a 2x4 that is screwed to the floor. This 1x6 is then screwed to that. And then the bottom of the cabinet is screwed to that 1x6, which covers pretty much everything. So it serves a couple purposes. One, to keep everything covered, but also to keep the base of the cabinet nice and sturdy. So once again, I can have this taken apart in probably 10 or 15 minutes if I so choose. Check out the other side. This is where the battery is. Got a AGM commercial battery, which does quite well. I was debating on whether or not I should go with lithium or anything like that. If I had more stuff in here, I might think about going with lithium, but this really does well throughout the day. So you can see we've got a battery disconnect there. We also have a battery isolator. So I have coming in from the truck through the trailer connector 12 volts. So that can kind of keep a surface charge on this battery throughout the day. The good thing about that isolator is when the battery voltage gets below, I think it's 12.5 volts, I think, it isolates the battery from the pickup. So that way it's not drawing power when the truck's not running, killing the battery in the pickup. So works pretty good. It does, I think I may put a switch in there to turn it off. The battery really does well throughout the day, so I could probably get away with not using the truck power, but works pretty well. So you can kind of see a little bit on how I got the toolbox in here too. So a little bit better than maybe the other side. So there's a better look at the turnbuckle. Super solid. I also have 2x4s bracing the corners, so it's not going to shift side to side. That 2x4 also supports the top, which is basically laying on top of the toolbox. There's really nothing holding the front on. Once again, if I want to take this apart, I could get this thing apart in a very, very short amount of time. So it's quite solid, turned out well. I'm super happy with that. So another thing we have down here is a 12-volt plug that works with the diesel heater I have. I've got a little bunk heater that sits right here. The exhaust goes out there. That's great for cooler mornings. I tend to run my toolbox deals in February, and guys do not want to come out and look at stuff when it's 20 degrees out here. So and then on the front side, I've got a 1x6 that is kind of covering the front of the toolbox. It's also a way to secure the front of the cabinets or the bottom side of the cabinets. And once again, that's tied into the side of the trailer. Once again, all this stuff can be disassembled in a very short amount of time. One of my favorite parts about this trailer is the in-floor winch. So since the toolbox is in the front, there's no way to really mount a winch up front. So this was a great solution. This is also from Midwest Race Trailers. Comes with a remote. Really works nice. So this should handle a car without a problem. It is basically a ATV winch, so it's not a full-size winch, but it should do just about anything that I'm going to need. I forgot the actual specs with it, but so the kit came with the winch, with the remotes, with all the wiring that's needed. The box, pretty vague on instructions. So as anything, when you have custom stuff, it always is. It can be quite a challenge. So it fits in between the 16-inch separation on the frame underneath, but I had to modify it. So there was a section that I had to cut out the frame. The frame is basically kind of an S, and I had to trim the bottom side of that S in order to get the box to fit where it needed to go. But then I braced that with a piece of 2x2 square steel. So it's actually beefier. It's bolted together. There's 2 lag bolts on either side, which you can kind of see down there, that bolts through the 2x2 square steel into the frame. So it's actually stronger than it was originally, so it worked out pretty well. So I have no fears about using this for cars or anything like that. And of course, it bolts to the top. Super happy with that. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Guess What Day It Is. Once again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. I really appreciate that as well. So what do you think? Put it down in the comments. If you have any questions on any of the products that I've used in this build or any of the techniques, feel free to reach out and I'll answer those to the best of my ability. So we're going to finish off this episode with some before pictures. So enjoy.